Okay guys, what is going on? Welcome to a new video. In today's video, we're going to do something very different from usual. It's going to be something not ultra endurance related. I'm going to attempt to run a sub 3 hour marathon off of zero specific marathon training and only off of IRONMAN and Ultra running training. I want to try and do this because after every big ultra endurance event that I've ever done, there was a pocket of time after like 2 or 3 weeks that I felt really great at doing intensity. It was like my body wanted to do intensity. It was craving intensity, short stuff, and even like long tempo stuff. Probably due to the fact that I'd been training for so many months, only like low intensity stuff, like ultra running or Ironman is pretty low intensity. And after 3 weeks, usually I always feel awesome. And this time the same. So 5 weeks ago, I ran IC 100 miler. And then 3 weeks after the 100 miler, I felt absolutely fantastic and I went out and did a half marathon. It's Monday morning and today we're going to do a half marathon test. Solo, unsupported, just random course, traffic lights and everything. I ran 1:27 something with a headwind, with like completely nightmare conditions. And that got me thinking, maybe all this zone 2 training has increased my speed also. I wonder what time I could do on a marathon. And apart from that, I really enjoyed the half marathon. It was a lot of fun, really hard. And I think I made a lot of mistakes during the half marathon that I can correct in the marathon. Like for instance, pacing wise. And I think it's just going to be fun to see if I can break sub 3 hours with zero specific training and only Ironman and ultra running specific training. There's this conception that Ironman athletes and ultra running athletes, especially ultra trail, are slow. They can't really run fast and they only do slow stuff. And that people who go and do the long stuff is because they don't have any speed. I have to agree on some counts, but at this point, I feel like I still have, let's say, a decent amount of speed that I might be able to break sub 3 hours in a marathon, even with no training. And this is a way to test the saying, run slow to run fast. So basically, I've only been running slow for the past months. And yeah, let's see if that has increased my speed also. I'm going to do this solo on a course that I've designed, measured out on multiple apps, with no trees, no buildings, and perfect GPS signal. It's a basically completely flat and straight course. I'm gonna have Brina with me, giving me bottles every now and then, and I think it's gonna be really challenging and fun, but extremely hard. So when I say zero specific training, I mean zero specific training, but that does not mean no intensity. Before IC 100, when I came back to Italy, I did a little bit of intensity, as in uphill runs, even some really long tempo stuff like 90 minutes full gas up a climb. So I did do some intensity, but it was never on the road and it was never a flat interval or a tempo run on flat. I only did stuff up hills or for ultra trail. So zero specific marathon training in that regard. The only specific session that I did was the half marathon. If we can consider that a training session, that's the only one I did. So I ran a flat out half marathon. Now I've waited 2 weeks. I think I'm fully recovered. So I think it's the perfect time to try and run a marathon. Let me give you some info on the pacing, the nutrition strategy, and the gear that I'm going to use. As far as nutrition goes, the night before I'm going to have some pasta without overdoing it. I'm going to be tapering for a couple of days, so I won't do anything, or at most like some light bike rides. And then I will focus on sleep. And for sleep, I'm going to be taking some ashwagandha, 1 capsule of ashwagandha, and hopefully that will ensure that I'll have some really good sleep. The morning of the race, I'm going to have just some coffee with sugar, no solid food, as I've done in the past 3 events that I did, and I always felt absolutely great. During the marathon, I'm gonna have all my calories from gels and drinks. So I'm gonna try and hit 100 plus grams of carbs per hour, which is something that I've never really done in Ironman marathons. It's always been around 80 to 90 grams, and I'm gonna do it with gels and drinks. First off, gels, I'm gonna have 1 caffeine gel and 1 normal regular gel every hour, and each one of these has 45 grams of carbs, so this is 90 grams of carbs, and 65 milligrams of caffeine. I know that my tolerance is at most 100 milligrams of caffeine per hour, so with this I should be good. Then I'm gonna have 2 bottles, each bottle filled with 4 scoops of this, so each bottle with 90 grams of carbs. This is a very powerful and concentrated drink by Endurance, Energy Unit Drink 90. And Brina is going to be like, let's say, a mobile aid station, so she will be on a bike and she will just go further along on the road and wait for me at certain spots and maybe give me bottles if I need them. On top of this, I'm gonna have a bottle filled with Monster Energy. Monster Energy is insane for reducing perceived exertion, as it has ginseng, B12, L-carnitine, caffeine, shitload of carbs, and all these things are very useful to lower perceived exertion, which is something that I'm going to be trying to do. I don't want this video to be like an ad. I don't care if you use these products, but in the morning before the race, I will have 3 capsules of Loaded. And Loaded is an insane supplement by For Endurance, which has basically everything you might possibly need. But especially it has ginseng and rhodiola rosea. Rhodiola rosea is something that, on me at least, works really well to lower perceived exertion. So I will take 3 capsules of Loaded before the marathon. Starting time is going to be around 5:40 a.m., 5:45 a.m. in order for it to be cool and like good weather, but honestly shouldn't even warm up later in the day because it's been terrible weather here in Italy, so that should be like a non-issue even if I start a bit later. But I'm gonna try and start at that hour, 5:45. I'm gonna take 1 caffeine gel in before starting the actual run, like 5 minutes before, and I will carry 2 gels with me. Then the rest I will have with Brina, acting like an aid station basically. Next up we have pacing. What is my pacing strategy going to be? Pacing is pretty straightforward. In order to run a sub 3 hour marathon, you have to run 4 minutes and 15 seconds per kilometer pace. I believe I can hold 4:10 per kilometer pace. So what I'm going to try and do is run at 4:10 kilometer pace in the beginning and see how far I can hold that in order to have a little bit of a buffer, because from previous marathons, even if they were in Ironmans, I always feel that towards the end, there's a moment where you just slow down and you can't really maintain that high pace that you need. So if I ran a steady 4:15 Ks, I think I might lose some precious seconds in the last quarter. So what I'm going to do is going to run at 4:10 until I can manage that, and then try and manage and limit the damage that slowing down is going to do towards the last part of the marathon. Hopefully this works out. I might blow up. Who knows? But definitely what I'm not going to do is try and go out at 4-minute K pace, because that it will just be insanity. So kind of like a steady pacing, but front loading some time a bit in the beginning. Definitely not going for a negative split, and hopefully this works out. Now let's check out the gear. So now let's talk about the gear that I'm going to use. It's going to be super minimal, and the keyword is as light as possible. Every gram counts. And regarding weight, there are still some things that I'm going to have to carry with me that I really would not want to carry with me, but that's okay for this time. Shoes, I'm going to use the Alphafly V1 that I still have, and I still think they are very, very lively, so they definitely still have a marathon in them. So I'm going to be using Alphafly V1 as shoes. Next up, I'm going to use something that I've never used before, and these are running shorts, running tights, I don't know what you call them. And these are tight because aerodynamics do matter when running, let's say fast or at a sub 3 marathon pace. I really think aerodynamics matter. During the half marathon, I just had some random shorts and a t-shirt, and I really felt the wind and the drag acting against me. So this time it's going to be aerodynamics, so tight shorts for running. I don't really dig them style-wise, but I mean, if they get the job done, I'll be happy to have worn them. Then we're going to have just a basic 5-panel cap, super simple, very light. Then we have just a regular running tank top. This is really, really light, and it is actually a brand from Indonesia called Sub, which is actually pretty funny. This is very, very good fabric, and it doesn't get heavy, so I'm going to be using this, and probably I'm going to take it off at some point to reduce wind drag even further. Then I'm going to have, this is the part of the kit that I don't like, and this is a running belt. I'm going to have to carry my phone with me, and very probably my headphone case, so I'm going to put them in this belt. This is just a random Decathlon belt. I don't really dig it, but it'll have to carry my phone and maybe a small camera like the Insta360 Go 3 and my headphone case. For socks, I'm gonna go just with a super extremely basic pair of white socks, just normal socks for running. Yeah, that's it. And now let's talk about the course. So the course is going to be all basically straight. I've identified a piece of road that is a really, really awful road, like a highway, but that has quite a wide shoulder, so you can actually run or cycle on it. And I think about this road is that it has 0 buildings around it. It has no cities, nothing at all, and 0 trees around it. So it will make for very clear GPS signal, because I realized that when I run here in Turin, if you go in the park under the trees, the GPS signal won't be super good. So I'm trying to minimize that error the max. And I've mapped out the course on multiple different apps, and it always shows the correct distance. So both the apps, if you cross-reference them, they show the correct distance. So hopefully that should lead to no GPS errors. What I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to run a couple of 100 meters extra just to make sure that I really do hit the distance and I don't just come short for 100 meters or 200 meters, because on a sub 3 effort, that really counts. So I'm going to do everything in my power to avoid making mistakes for the distance, GPS signal, and time. So with that being said, it's time to get everything ready and then go up to the town where I'm going to sleep the night before and give sub 3 a crack and see if Ironman training and ultra trail running training translate to some sort of speed. Let's go. Okay, it's 5:50 AM, so I'm gonna start at 5:55, and it's almost go time. It's really cool, really chilly weather, but for me that's perfectly. Let's go. I headed down just jogging to the roundabout where I was going to start. Brina was not going to be with me for this first part. I was going to be alone for the first 20k basically. So once I reached the roundabout, it was go time. I just started running, started hammering it. Let's go. Did a couple of Ks at 4-minute K pace. Okay guys, we are off. First kilometer done. So the start time was about 5:56. So target time, sub 3. Let's go. But then I tried to slow down and ease into 4:10k pace, and I actually managed to do it. So I started hitting consistent 4:10k paces, and I was feeling pretty bad, to be honest. At the beginning, everything felt kind of hard, and probably was psychological, or probably I just needed to get used to the effort, because I knew that in the half marathon I did, the same paces felt less hard. Then after a while, it started clicking into gear, like around kilometer 10, everything started clicking. I started feeling pretty good. I took in my first gel at around kilometer 12, I think, or 13. And there I started to feel great. Like the pace felt great, and it felt kind of easy, let's say. I was running, I was really enjoying just feeling like running, let's say, fast after so many months of just ultra training. So that was really good. I made my way down this super long straight road. And here I noticed the first problem with the course, and that was that the course, it seemed flat, but in actuality, it was all false flats. It was always like slightly up or slightly down, and these were not clearly defined. So the first 10k split was 41:39. I knew that I had to hit 10k splits under 42 minutes. That was the calculation that I made. I knew that I was on pace, and I started thinking, all that I have to do now is hold this pace. I don't need to go faster. I don't need to slow down. I just need to hold this pace. And this is something that it never happened in marathons, because it was always like a survival thing in Ironman marathons. It's just like, can I hold this pace? This was very different, both mentally and physically. I really needed to understand and really focus on just maintaining this pace. I knew exactly what I had to do.
Ti do la monster, è pronta. Va bene? How are you feeling?
Very good. Very good. Started off bad, now it's good. Can't talk it up. No more talking.
And at this point, I felt really good. I kept on running, and I hit the half marathon split at 1:27:47. And at this point, I was feeling okay. I was feeling pretty good, actually. I knew that I was halfway there, and all I needed to do was to maintain this effort. One thing I will say is there was no time to look around. I really didn't enjoy the sunrise. I didn't really enjoy my surroundings. It was just about focusing on the effort. And also, this was pretty new. I don't think I've ever done something this intense and focused, where there is really little margin for error for such a long time. So it was a very different experience from other things that I'd done before. Here I met up with Brina, and Brina, basically the first thing that I needed, I felt that I was low on caffeine. So I asked her to prepare a bottle with Monster Energy and 2 caffeine gels. So she just basically, with the bike, she went ahead on the road, waited for me, and she gave me the bottle with Monster. I drank the Monster very slowly. I kept on running, and this was the second time that I was running out. This was going to be basically the last time that I had to complete this really long section that was 7.5k long, completely straight and pretty monotonous, to be honest. So I was running out, and here I started to feel the false flats a lot, both as effort-wise. So I was feeling that I had to maintain a higher effort in some spots compared to others where it sloped down, but especially I started feeling them in the legs. So the legs here were starting to feel a bit fatigued due to the intensity, of course. But I kept on plugging on, and I went from feeling like great to feeling not really that great. Here, what started happening was I kept on thinking about what the next benchmark of distance that I was going to aim for was going to be. And in this case, it started becoming the 32.2 kilometer mark. I was just saying, okay, just get to 32.2 at this pace, and then we'll go from there, because I knew that at 32.2, there were only exactly 10 kilometers left. So it was easier in my mind to understand at what time I was at 32.2 and how much time I had left to complete the last 10k. I started struggling here. Here I started really struggling. I took in normal gel, no caffeine. Then Brina waited for me along the road again, and she gave me a bottle. A very important thing, I never drafted off Brina, never, ever. And why do I say this? Because at this point, so after I'd done the second out and back, I started really feeling the wind and how much the wind impacts speed, even on running, not only on cycling, especially if you are alone. This is a big thing that I learned, is that if I had been with like 1 or 2 people in front of me, that would have really dramatically changed how much wind impacted the speed on the way back from the out and back. Honestly, I didn't think that drafting and running could make such a big difference, but it really does make a difference in my opinion. And the other thing is, at this point, I was kind of like starting to lose a bit of the pacing strategy that I was doing. Started seeing that some kilometers, especially the ones on the false flats, were starting to go slower. So I was not hitting 4:15 anymore. It might have been 4:16 in the beginning, then it was 4:18. So I was losing some seconds every kilometer. At this point, I hit the 32.2 kilometer mark in 2 hours, 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So I knew that I had almost exactly 45 minutes to complete the last 10K. So 45 minutes means 4:30K pace. I was still sustaining something very close to 4:15, maybe even 4:15, but I started really to struggle at this point. And here we enter from 36 kilometers on, a thing that I'd never felt. It was excruciatingly painful. It started with my right calf really seizing up. It felt like I was gonna have a full-on cramp, but mentally I just kind of like said to my body, I said, you cannot have a cramp now, because if you stop and walk, you will not make this. Like, there is a high possibility that you will not make this, because the possibility of me coming back from a cramp and running again fast, or even faster because I had to make up time, I thought was gonna be like very, very, very small. So I don't know, I changed my running form. I slowed down a little bit and I just basically fixed this calf issue. All my legs were really, really hurting. And mentally I was like drained, super drained, and I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. All that I could think about was get to 40K, and then usually what happens is the last 2K you get some energy from somewhere. So I just focused on getting to 40K. I don't have the clip filmed, but Brina was taking a video of me, and I just, at one point I just said, don't film anymore, because I was just in such a place of hurt that even just perceiving that she was filming it, maybe because I thought that I might not make it, was really messing with my mind. And in actuality, she wasn't filming. But anyway, I took off my tank top because I thought I need all the aero advantage that I can get. And I just kept on running, trying to get as close as possible to 4:15K pace. And at this point, after the basically 32 kilometer mark, all the splits were slower than 4:15. Not very far off, like we have 4:16, 4:13, 4:20, 33, 4:20, 34, 4:20, 35, 4:18, 36, 4:18, 37, 4:19, 38, 4:22, 39, 4:27, 40, 4:28. Here I was really, really hurting. Like, this was the absolute most excruciating point of the whole experience. Like, kilometer 40 was absolutely brutal, absolutely brutal. And then I got to kilometer 40, it got slightly downhill, and I started slightly picking up the pace again, but I had been hemorrhaging seconds on the past kilometers. I knew that I needed to get back to 4:15K pace, even though my legs just weren't working. My legs were hurting so bad, they just would not go as fast as I wanted.
It's over, it's over.
It was at this point, at kilometer 39, that I actually thought I might not make it. I had such a little time buffer to spare to stay under 3 hours, that if anything had gone wrong, or if I started slowing down, even just 10 seconds here or 10 seconds there, it meant I would have gone above 3 hours. There was a concrete possibility that I would not make it. But all I could do was run as hard as I could and believe that sub 3 was still in reach. I had very little time to spare, but I did have some. So I hardened up and kept on running. I picked up the pace slightly to 4:21 at the 41st kilometer. 42nd kilometer was 4:22. I knew that I had to run a bit extra. I was going to get to around 42.5 Ks. After I knew that I had covered the distance, I stopped the watch.
Chilometri? I minuti? No, vabbè.
So average pace for the effort was 4:14 per kilometer. Final time was 2:58.26 for the marathon. Well, that's it. Made it just barely. I thought I was going to go a little bit faster, but the last 7 kilometers were absolutely brutal. But we did it. And this causes off a big year, sub 10 Ironman, sub 30 hour 100 miler in a UTMB World Series event, and a sub 3 marathon. This is absolutely crazy. I cannot believe this morning happened. It took a lot of mental strength. It was so mental. Also physical, but a lot of mental strength this morning went into this. I learned a lot of things this morning. Oh, absolutely brutal. Thank you, Brina, for helping me this morning. Without you,
Pleasure.
this would have not happened at all.
No, I don't think so.
Absolutely amazing. Oh, absolutely crazy, crazy. Oh, crazy pain. It was a lot of fun though. Like now it feels like a lot of fun, not in the moment, but oh, it was great. Woo! In a sub-3 marathon, especially if you're so close to the cutoff, which is 3 hours, of course, 2:59.59, the effort is really hard. It is high tempo, close to threshold. And what this does, at least to me, while I was running, my mind was telling me to stop. It wasn't slow down. It was like, stop. You need to stop now. And this is terrible, of course. You can't do it if you want to achieve your goal. There is no middle way. There is no gray area. Either you are running the pace required or the brain was telling you stop. There was no like, oh, let's run 1K easy. It always has to be at a high intensity. This was a feeling that I had all the last 6-7 kilometers. It was a terrible feeling, very different from all the other things I'd done before. And to be honest, thinking about it afterwards, it was quite fun and really, really challenging. It was extremely challenging. To me, running this marathon was really, really hard. Not so much the first half, but the second half was really, 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 really hard. In a different way, as I said before, like that your mind just wants to quit. And your body also wants to quit, but you can't. You have to maintain that pace. So that was a very transformative experience, honestly, that I think has a lot of value for personal growth. So definitely something that I'm glad I did. So average power for the effort was 443 watts. Average pace, of course, was 4:14 per kilometer. Final time was 2:58.26 for the marathon. Average heart rate was 163 beats per minute. My threshold is 172, so pretty high. It is definitely the hardest effort that I've done for 3 hours. Average cadence was 170 steps per minute, and definitely my running form degraded so bad towards the end. It is something that you can absolutely see in the videos. I was running so badly at the end. In the beginning it was really smooth, effortless, light, and in the end the body was just completely breaking down and my legs were just not having it anymore. So what went right and what I think I really did nail is the nutrition strategy. So I did exactly what I thought I was going to do. I took 2 gels per hour basically and some drink. I think I hit around 100 grams of carbs per hour, at least, probably even a bit more, and felt absolutely great. No problems whatsoever there. And I had abundant energy apart from the real end, but that I don't think is carb dependent. It's more like whole body fatigue dependent. The pacing also, I think I nailed. I think it worked really well to have some front-loaded kilometers in the beginning. That'll give you a buffer of time to then when you slow down in the end. It might have worked if I just paced them perfectly for 15K. Maybe I wouldn't have used so much energy in the beginning, but who knows? This time I think it worked pretty well. Also clothing-wise and gear-wise, I think that worked pretty well. It was fairly aero, light, so I had no problems. What did not work was, first off, shoe choice. So the Alphafly V1 has a drop that is, I think, 4 millimeters, and this is definitely not enough in my opinion to run something like this. It really fatigues the calf and the Achilles a lot, especially the calf. I think the problems that I had in my right calf were mostly due to footwear choice, so too little of a drop. If I could go back, or the next one, I would use a different shoe with a higher drop, as a higher drop promotes using the calf less. So definitely a shoe with like 8 millimeter drop or something along those lines. But I must say that the Alphafly is a very, very fast shoe. Like it is unlike anything else that I've tried up to this point. So maybe the Alphafly V3 would be the perfect choice. Another thing that absolutely did not work was having my phone with me and my headphone charger. That was definitely a big, absolute no-no. It's like so much extra weight. I know this sounds stupid, but the headphone charger might be 100 grams. The iPhone might be, I don't know, 300 grams, maybe 200 grams, and that counts. Everything counts on an effort like this, especially if you're very close to the cutoff. So next time I have to find a solution to run without my phone and without the headphone charger. Every single gram matters. Another thing that worked is the haircut. I got like, let's say a faster, more speedy haircut from my barber who also runs marathons, so that was really cool. Supplementation before worked perfectly, loaded worked perfectly, as did not having breakfast. I really thrive just off coffee and sugar. It is all that I need to get started for an effort like this, especially if it's early in the morning. So now let's come to answer the question that was the whole reasoning for doing this effort. Does Ironman training and ultra trail running training translate to getting faster? So basically, the vast majority of the training that you do for an Ironman or an ultra trail is zone 2. It is zone 2 training. And personally, this year, basically from January all the way up to mid-March, I did only zone 2 training. And this was really mind-numbingly boring, terrible. I will never do it again. And it was basically just running slow, really, really slow. And for slow, I'm talking like 6-minute K pace or 5:40-minute K pace. This is what I had to do to prepare for the 100-mile ultra. As in such a long ultra, all that is needed is to run slow for a really long period of time. I was never thinking that this would increase my speed. And actually, I thought the opposite. So a lot of people say if you run a lot of miles in zone 2, you will get faster. And I thought this to be true in one sense, as in your zone 2 pace gets faster over time. But I did not think that it would improve overall, like fast speed, let's say threshold effort speed. If we look at the sub 3 result, the obvious conclusion is that it does. So it does improve even, let's say, threshold speeds, so fast speeds. And in my opinion, it does, but partially. The thing that happened is that before the last part of the preparation for the 100-mile ultra, what I did was quite a bit of intensity, especially running uphill for trail running. So a lot of running uphill, full gas, like full effort. And I did this also before Chiang Mai, do Tenon 100K. And when I came back to Italy after Bali, so I came back to Italy and then did ISTE 100, in those like 2 or 3 weeks, I did a lot of intensity, and especially a lot of threshold efforts, but not on the road, all done uphill. There is one training drill that I do, and that is I run on a road uphill at like a tempo pace, so a fairly hard pace. And every time someone on a bike overtakes me, I try and run after them and hang on to them as much as I can. So in those weeks before ISTE 100, I really did do a lot of high tempo / threshold training, all uphill on trails and nothing on the road. And I believe these are the things that really helped me to improve my speed to nothing, of course, spectacular, not elite at all, but to something I would say decent for the benchmark of sub 3 marathon. So is there an answer to this question? Does doing only zone 2 really increase your speed dramatically? I don't know. I think it is always a combination of a lot of zone 2. Zone 2 will make your body more efficient. You will become a lot more efficient at running, and running at certain paces will feel effortless, like you can do it forever. But in my opinion, to go fast, or at least faster, and improve your speed, there must be some intensity work in there. But it doesn't need to be specific. It doesn't need to be marathon specific intensity. It can be trail running. It can be doing it on the bike and keeping all the mileage on the runs like easy, or maybe some tempo stuff or some race pace or race intensity stuff. But the one thing that I would like to say is that intervals for marathon running, I think, can be perfectly replicated with trail running and running uphill with less load on joints and the same impact on the cardio system. So my key takeaway for this is that in order to run a sub 3 hour marathon, you don't need to train on the road all the time. You can do a lot of different things, and a lot of different things, provided they have a lot of zone 2 work and a lot of intensity, they will give you the result that you want, if that result is running a sub 3 hour marathon, of course. If you want to run a lot faster, in my opinion, there needs to be a lot more intensity work and a lot more, let's say, specific time-wise. So you have to do some training sessions that are very specific time-wise. So some intensity blocks that are repeated, that are specific to the marathon. So the key thing is to know what heart rate you're going to maintain during the marathon, or you're going to aim to maintain, and doing those intensity blocks at that heart rate. So it can be, so it's basically race pace, but you can do them wherever. You can do them uphill, you can do them however you want. The one thing I would say is the closer I would get to a marathon, the more specific the work would get. But in my opinion, it doesn't need to be so much. It can be like one full gas half marathon, or maybe a couple of sessions that are specific to the marathon distance. And then honestly, it can be a lot of mental fortitude and just getting comfortable with maintaining this effort that really feels hard and that you cannot quit. You can't stop doing it. You have to sustain it for a long time. So that would be another key training aspect, to get used to maintaining this high intensity effort for a long time. Okay guys, sub 3 hour marathon done. Of course, unofficial time, but I think I will run one in the future to just see where I'm at. And I'm really happy that I did it, just to have a benchmark of heart rate, time, what the pace feels like, what running a marathon, let's say fast, feels like. And it is definitely something that I get why people are into marathons. It is a very specific feeling, a very specific type of hurt. So definitely something to look into, even though I do consider marathon running very, very injury provoking. It is something that I always see in Facebook groups, so proceed with caution. And honestly, I'm really glad that I waited some years, and after already having done some Ironman marathons, to then do just a straight up marathon. Thanks for watching the video. If you find it useful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more content like this coming your way soon. I'm gonna be finishing the recap for the 100-mile ultra pretty soon. It's gonna be how I trained and how the race went. It was an absolutely epic experience, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye guys, and happy training.